What's up, guys? It's Emmanuel Football Club Magazine, and we're back for another episode. We have Ryan Lee on the web, and we have John Baqueta with us in the house. We have some cool topics we can discuss today. For example, the new rules coming to the World Cup that are being introduced and have been used in the MLS already. So that's pretty exciting. So we'll see less stoppage and more playing.
So the short and simple of it is they're trying to find ways to speed the game up, right? And we've seen this in so many other sports. Lower levels and divisions are often the guinea pig to implement these into top tier leagues. So in the MLS and MLS Next Pro, they've been working on this for a couple of years where they're trying to minimize the time of subs and they're also trying to lower the time of medical attention to get the game moving a little bit for minor medical instances. And it's worked to a significant degree in MLS Next Pro. They announced for the 2025 season that 99% of subs occurred in the 10-second window, which is one of the new rules. You have to complete the sub within 10 seconds, go to the nearest sideline instead of back to center. And that injury related stoppages also took a sharp decrease, and they want to implement this into the World Game too. The IFAB, the International Football Association Board, they approved it over the weekend. And this is one of the interesting ways that MLS and Next Pro are paving the way for international soccer, which will be really fun because it means we can get back to the game quicker. And I'm sure for some of us who have been watching for a long time, we want to get back to the action ASAP. And this is a great bridge into that.
Of course, and the USL seems to also be adopting the same rules. John, can you tell us a little bit about that? How the players have received this?
Yeah, it'll be really interesting. Like I said, we just had the meeting today where they told us all the new rules, and I think it'll be really cool to see these new rules come into play. And ultimately, what we all want is more time, the ball rolling, less losing time. So I think these rules will be interesting. The 10-second rule will push the players to get off the field fast. The 1 minute you have to be out if you ask for a trainer. That'll be really interesting because a lot of times people might be milking it or being like, I'm hurt, and they're fine. So now people will be like, no, I don't need a trainer. Let's get back to playing.
For sure. And it's a positive thing overall. I guess the only negative that's going away with this is the mental game of it. A lot of players, a lot of teams will use this as a mental tool to get into the other team's head. So overall positive things. And speaking of like, new rules, have you guys seen the Arsene Wenger new offside rule that is going to be implemented in Canada, the Premier League in Canada?
I think that's a tough one. I think they were trying to push for the World Cup to implement this rule, and it'll be really interesting to see, especially for the leagues that don't have VAR. I think it's a really tough league because it really gives the attackers a big advantage. Because I think right now, offsides in the big leagues, there's VAR, it's all up to inches, and I think having the last part of the defender being the offside, I guess, or your whole body in front is crazy. It would be a huge advantage to the attacking players, in my opinion.
Yeah, of course. And then Ryan, as somebody who covers these games and commentates the games, you get to see a lot of the reviews and the replays of plays that are called offside by literally not even half an inch. Is John is saying this is a negative thing for defensive side of soccer, but your thoughts on the offense?
So at the end of the day, a lot of these leagues, they, especially now in social media age, they want as many goals as possible. They want to showcase the offense and they want to have more of these highlight worthy plays at the end of the day. It's the same reason why the NBA, for example, it's the reason why they have a shot clock in the first place. They want to create more offense. They want to create more opportunities for these players to show out their stuff. And when we're talking about the MLS and the MLS Next Pro rules speeding the game up, and then this, which is allowing quote unquote more offensive opportunities to stand, you can very clearly see the shift towards the offensive side of the ball and how they want to prioritize goal scorers and attackers more than everyone else. It seems like.
I think it's really interesting that you're talking
And John,
about.
I know you're having a big reaction there. I know I saw you had a really big reaction, John.
No, I was gonna say with the shot clock that you mentioned, another rule that's been implemented being that you talking about the shot clock. It's interesting because there's another rule that's being introduced is the goalkeeper only being able to hold the ball for 8 seconds and the ref will start the countdown with their hands, and then if not, goes to an automatic corner kick, which I think will be really interesting to see. And as the game goes on, and maybe it's first a warning, and this goalkeepers take so much time to get the ball rolling again, it'll be really interesting to see how that also affects, because from having the ball in the goalkeeper's hands, if you take too long, now you're defending a corner kick, which also now in this day and age, how many goals are coming from set pieces? We see it in the Premier League all the time. It's becoming half of the games are coming. So it's like, no, get the ball rolling, or if not, your team is going to actually have to defend and maybe concede a goal.
Sure, and Atletico just beat out Barcelona, right? Is there ever going to be a rule against parking the bus?
I don't know.
You
I
would like
think
this one, right?
no. I feel like it's part of the game. I think you have to use your tools, and if that's what you're good at, if you're good at defending and counterattacking, then that's also part of the game. I feel like that's in every sport. People use different tactics, and personally, is that my favorite kind of soccer? Probably not. But I do have a lot of respect for the teams that play like that and have success.
It does take a lot of coordinating with your defense, a lot of discipline, being able to stay in position, especially with 5, 6, 7 people in the back. Ryan, can you tell us a little bit about this first Sunday? How that went for you?
So actually, weirdly enough, so some of the rules that we talked about have been in place in MLS Next Pro for a while, but the one that took its effect in a really interesting way is the 5-second goal kick rule that you mentioned, John, because you can see it in the broadcast. Center referee, he's counting down with his hands on every single goal kick. That's how it seems like they want to enforce it. They're literally asking the refs to count with their hands, and that's how they're going to try to enforce this thing. So I think that was a really interesting dynamic that took place in this week 1. And we've seen this in the MLS Next Pro and other leagues as well, that these lower leagues are the guinea pigs for the top tier leagues, MLS to MLS Next Pro. The WNBA has been often used into implementing NBA rules, which is, I believe, the shot clock resetting after rebounds is one that got implemented WNBA first. And it's not just how these guys set up into being what could be the future of these MLS clubs, but also the entire future of soccer, considering that some of these guys are 17 years old, 18 years old, but they're getting call-ups to their senior national teams or U20 teams, U21 teams. It's the overall showcase of who's the next, not just in MLS, but in world soccer too. And it's one of the minor things that MLS Next Pro, it's been a really fun league to cover and a really fun league to do games for, because they're the testing ground, the testing stage of everything else in world soccer. And it's been used. That's the craziest part, is that it's been used.
I think it's great the fact that Pro, which is the company that the referees have in both MLS, USL, are able to test these rules beforehand and have the data to say it's worth having them, because we've seen them in MLS Next. We've reduced the time of substitutions. We've reduced the time of players getting out when they're not injured. And I think it's great that you can implement rules after having the information and all the data that it's working.
And talking about rules, there's been a rule that's becoming a little bit controversial in the sense of it's killing the momentum of the game, and that's water breaks, which are going to be used during the World Cup. It's not a thing we used to see maybe 3-4 years ago, right? And it's become a thing that's very common. How do you guys feel about this?
I think it's just another opportunity. First of all, it is really hot in the summer.
Of course,
and
there's a reason. It's just not something we used to see.
Well, it's also a standardized. Once it hits a certain temperature, then both teams are asked if they want to do it. If that's the case, then there's a water break. But it's another opportunity to adjust things mid-game. Soccer used to be a game where before the game, you can adjust things. At halftime, you can adjust things. But there's really not much a coach can do in the run of play. Maybe he'll call up a player and be like, hey, can we adjust this? Can we do this? But the water break gives them another opportunity to get the whole team together and say, oh, this is what we need to do better. This is what's hurting us. This is how we're going to fix it. And I feel like that's also the way soccer is trending, right? How much time will it be until it's like football, where there's the coach upstairs and the player is having something in his ear and he's getting information? No, I'm serious. It's getting more and more to that level where the coaches are able to adjust things mid-game.
The one thing that
So
oh,
there's no, I was gonna say there's some interesting dynamics with that also, at least in the non-soccer realm. I know that right now in this time of the year is Ramadan specifically, so they do it so that some of the players are allowed to break their fast should they practice Ramadan and anything else of the sort. And John, you can maybe speak on this on a player perspective, but you mentioned the Heat. How much does cramping, lower body injuries, that type of thing, because of hydration and heat, kind of play its effect, not just within a game, but maybe therefore after?
It has a huge effect. When I was playing in Phoenix, we would play in the summer, and these rules didn't exist. There was no water breaks, and teams would come into Phoenix, and we would be playing at 100 degrees Fahrenheit, and teams would struggle. It's really hard to play in that heat. So I think it's great. There's water breaks, and you can get maybe some food in your body as well, some liquids, and it's just needed for injuries, for the protection of the player.
especially as the amount of games played every league increases, especially with more competitions, more cups, all that kind of thing, right? And so the water breaks, great thing, and it happens a lot in MLS for a good reason, especially during the summer, just because the league runs from March through October, so it's running during the hottest times of the year. And as we're talking about MLS, they're coming back. Liga MX is coming back again, and the All Star game is going to be played in Charlotte. A great testament for the city, John. Since you do play here in Charlotte for Charlotte Independence, how is this something that benefits the city as a whole, not just Charlotte FC, but Carolina Ascent, Charlotte Independence, and all the other smaller clubs and academies that do reside here?
We're talking about the buzz, right, of soccer in America. Well, I think this is a great thing for the buzz of soccer in Charlotte. The Club World Cup was here last summer. I was able to go to a couple games. And then the buzz that there is around Charlotte FC, Carolina Ascent, having the MLS All Star game here is just another opportunity for people to get to see the best players in Mexico. And I think it's just another great opportunity for the city to enjoy really high level soccer. So it's super exciting. I'm hoping that I can go and experience the weekend. I love the skills. Probably that's my favorite part of the All Star weekend. I think it's really exciting for the city that there's high level soccer games, events, and that's only going to make people love and appreciate the game more.
Brian, as a Florida
Shout out to
resident,
Emmanuel for his daily crossbar challenge, by the way.
We'll
yeah,
go,
I've been doing
I said
pretty
shout out
good.
to Emmanuel for your daily crossbar challenge, by the way.
Thank you. I've been challenging John, but he won't do it.
yeah, you've been challenging Brown and Co. And
No, I've been challenging you off camera.
we'll get there one day.
Maybe we need to get Emmanuel on the pitch. Maybe it'll be the next thing, the next event, special appearance by Emmanuel.
Dude, it's been fun though. I've been hitting them pretty regularly.
Ryan, do you think we'll see an appearance in Charlotte from Ryan for the MLS All Star Weekend? Will that be a good opportunity to maybe finally have you here in studio?
I actually don't even know when the game is this year. I know it's usually mid-season. I know that it's Liga MX and MLS again. It's going to be in July, so that's going to really depend on the game schedule. But I think it fits in a really interesting pocket of the calendar. I believe, are we just coming out of the World Cup right around that time? I believe we are. So it's going to be okay. So it's going to be a really interesting time. It's July. It's right off the heels of the World Cup. It's Charlotte's a really huge soccer market, like guys mentioned. Maybe we might get Emmanuel participating in crossbar challenge. Who knows? But I also love how it invites our discussion from last week of Liga MX versus MLS, like who's the top dog within CONCACAF. And this is just another way to let that pot just simmer a little bit more of who has the dominance over North America. Is it the best of Liga MX or is it the best of MLS? And is it going to cause another controversy? Are we going to see Messi suspended again? Well, there's a lot of possibilities of what could come from the All-Star game, but I do love the fact that it's coming to a huge soccer market. I love the fact that it's Liga MX and MLS again. It's coming just off the heels of the World Cup, and it's just going to be this giant wave of soccer momentum heading North Carolina's way. And this All-Star weekend is going to be a huge one to boot within all that.
It's also a perfect close into a World Cup, right? Because MLS playing Liga MX, that's Canada involved, US and Mexico. So it's like they're just taking it home with another entertaining competition where they're showcasing just the best players.
I agree, and I think the new format has been great. I think it was really cool to have the MLS All Stars play against Arsenal and Real Madrid and all these big European teams. But I think ultimately it's just another opportunity to showcase both great leagues. And maybe people will be like, well, I'd rather watch a European club. But I think the goal is met with having both the best players from both leagues coming together.
Last episode, you spoke about the supremacy of MLS due to the fact that Seattle finally won the CONCACAF Champions Cup, right? MLS keeps smacking Mexico in these All Star games. What could be the contributing factor to this?
Well, I think as a player, it's a weekend where you want to enjoy, and the game itself is not that important. But still, once you get out on the field and you get out to playing, you want to win. So I'm sure both teams, whoever gets selected, will want to be there and beat the other team.
Yeah. Ryan, do you think the Mexican teams take it as a vacation more than anything?
I know one thing's for sure is that it'll be really fun to see the best of any league compiled together and thrown on a team, right? It's why we love international play, World Cup coming up, Olympics just ended. We want to see these super teams in a way come together and do their thing and run the table in a way. And I know that it's been soured upon recently, at least on the league wide level, but it's an all-star game. If there's a chance to put the best of the best on one roster, the All-Star weekend is it, not the LA Dodgers, for those who might be inquiring.
Not the LA Dodgers. I feel you. And talking about great rivalries, Champions League draw came out last Friday, and it's another final in the last, what is it, round of 16? City, Real Madrid. It just keeps happening. What's going on here, guys?
Well, if Madrid would have been in the top eight, they would have not played Man City. It's just as simple as that. People are like, well, it's rigged. And it's like, well, if you're in the top eight, then that would have not happened. As a Barca fan, I'm really happy. I think there was a stat that was really interesting that was on the left side of the bracket. There's X amount of winners in the last 10 years, and on the right side of the bracket, there's zero winners in the last 10 years. So it's a good draw for Barca. I'm happy with it.
Feels favorable.
Do you think I was the one in the draw to choose who plays who?
Oh, no. Ryan, your thoughts on this, man?
Here's the thing, right? It's that time of the year. Every tournament we can think of, they're getting their draws in really soon. College basketball is going to do with March Madness, how much controversies they're going to be on that 68th, 69th team, whatever. US Open Cup is coming up. How many of those upsets are we going to get down the line? It's tournament season. I think that's just the short and simple of it, of what makes the draw just so intriguing is that it's time to hunker down. In some cases, one or done, or in some cases, it's the aggregate. And that from this point forward, it's win or go home. You have one game, maybe two, to show your best stuff. And if you don't, it's a mini heartbreak within the season. And at the end of the day, it's tournament time, and let's have some fun with it, boys.
What's the team that surprised you guys this Champions League qualifying round?
Bodo Glimt. They've been unreal. I'm really excited to watch them play, and they're playing Sporting Lisbon, which they could easily beat them. They just got rid of Inter Milan. So I would love to have them going in a little bit of a run. It's always cool to see the underdogs winning, and I also think Barca's in a great place right now to take it off.
Yeah, of course. And then the one that's surprising everybody, I think, is Atalanta. Obviously, they made it into the Champions League for a reason, but not seeing a team like Juventus is certainly surprising. What about you, Ryan?
It's to me, for some reason, the Champions League feels very reminiscent to college football in some ways, where you have a very clear set of teams that can qualify, but there's a subset within that team where these are the guys who are truly championship contenders. And a lot of the rest of the pool is just filled up with teams that just have done well. So if it was up to me, and if I had to go off of that reasoning, you're going to get your usual suspects, your Man Cities and your Real Madrids. Most likely, they're going to make whoever wins that game is going to get their way into a semi. And with what teams like Arsenal and Liverpool have done over the last several years, they're also going to be those favorites to make it all the way too. And PSG just won it very recently too, so they also can. There's a very clear subset within this stack of teams who can make it. And that's just one of the things that happens in one of these big tournaments is there are teams that can qualify, but there's maybe a very small handful of teams who genuinely can. And I think the winner of Real Madrid and Man City could just be that team, whoever it is of those two.
It's tough because they would probably play Bayern Munich, which is probably one of the biggest contenders. If we're talking about the form right now, I think Bayern Munich, Arsenal might be the strongest two teams in that draw. But the reality is, when you get to this point, when there's 16 teams left, 32, but ultimately the last 16 teams are all going to be strong, right? And if you want to be the best in Europe, you got to beat tough teams. And I know Madrid fans are upset they have to play Man City, but look at all those teams that are there. We're talking PSG, Chelsea, Arsenal, Liverpool. There's a couple names that you're maybe like, oh, they're not doing that well, like Tottenham, or in case of Bodo Glimt, Madrid. But still, Madrid in Champions League is always going to be a favorite. But what I'm trying to say is, at this point in the competition, you're going to play the best. So there's no excuses of saying, oh, I got a bad draw. Well, they're all good teams, and they're there for a reason.
And speaking of Real Madrid, Rodrygo is going to miss the World Cup rest of the season. Somebody said I jinxed him. Who said that?
Before you say anything else, does this change anything for you with bringing Neymar to the World Cup?
I don't think so. If anything, bro, if anything, it just reaffirms what I'm saying. This is why it's important to take the healthiest of the healthiest, because anything could happen. It was just a little push of his right leg and it's blown.
But last week you were saying you could not take Neymar because
He's not
Rodrygo.
healthy.
That was not. That was never your thing. Your thing was like, I don't want to bring him because maybe he's not the healthiest, but also because Rodrigo's got to play.
No, I was saying
I say we put this in post and we insert clip here, and then we just let Emmanuel have egg on his face.
no, but
Bro,
really,
this thing-
but what I was saying is the reason I wouldn't take him is because I want to take the healthiest player instead of Neymar, and I used Rodrigo as an example, which I may have jinxed him, which I'm so sorry, Rodrigo, which you'll never watch this, but well, you never know. Anyways, it still affirms my point. You still want to take the healthiest player, and in this case, who would take Rodrigo's place?
I think it's tough. I think Brazil is not short of talent, so I'm sure they'll be okay in the sense of, obviously it's such a sad situation for a player to get injured, but it's always a little more hard on a World Cup year. The emotions and what it means for a player to play a World Cup. So I feel horrible for him. I'm wishing him a speedy recovery and that he gets to the level that he's been, because he's such a special player. I saw Neymar's message on his Instagram. He's saying my heir, he's little prince, and it's tough to see a player go through that. So from here, sending him best wishes, and we're hoping to see him at his best level. He's a Madrid player, but man, when it comes to this stuff, there's no questions asked.
Yes, certainly can agree with that. And it really hurts Madrid in the sense that if you've watched the last 3 years, Champions League, Real Madrid, Manchester City, Rodrigo has been the player to step up in all these tough games that we've been matched with. So it's definitely going to hurt the Real Madrid squad that was already hurting. But could this be an opportunity for a player like Endrick to step up and maybe shine in a way that gets him to the World Cup? He was doing well in France.
I think they're different positions, so it's hard to really say, oh, this will benefit him in a sense of opportunity. I think it's never going to be a case of, oh, there's a winger spot left. When you're planning for a competition like this, where you're taking, I think it is 30 players, you want to make sure you have a certain amount of wingers, certain amount of strikers. So I do think that Endrick is doing really well in France, and that on himself will hopefully take him to the World Cup. But in this case, hopefully this will give an opportunity to another winger, another young player, Savinho or Estevao, who maybe have not been as consistent this year, but they're definitely very special players.
As we speak of the World Cup and Rodrigo missing it, we got these rules being confirmed that are going to be present at the World Cup. We got more world news that could be affecting certain teams from playing at the World Cup. Do we have any comment on this?
From a player standpoint, what this means is we're so close, then an injury, anything happen, can have an effect on your chances for the World Cup. Why am I saying this? Mbappe, right now, his knee. Is he gonna push himself to finish the end of the season with Madrid, or is his head already in the World Cup? They're talking the same thing about Frankie De Jong. Oh, he already told his national team that he's not gonna push because he wants to make the World Cup. So, will this have an effect on some of the players and as they come back from injury? And also, how are the players gonna play in this last couple months of the season, gearing up to the World Cup?
I've been using this comparison a lot because it's topical, it's in the now, and there's not a lot of hypotheticals surrounding it. But look at the Olympics and what just concluded, right? Look at one of the many reasons that I can argue that Team Canada did not win gold in Olympic hockey because their captain, Sidney Crosby, took an injury in the tournament and now he's out for a month. Look at that example, for example, or even Jack Hughes, who scored the game winning goal for Team USA to win gold, but he also took a stick to a face. He had to have some minor oral surgery to get some teeth restitched. So injuries in these tournaments do happen. Injuries leading up to the tournaments also happen. There were maybe a dozen injury substitutions was left with about a week to go to the Olympic Games in Italy this year. And we've also seen a lot of guys who just are going to straight up miss time or miss the year. Another example is like Kevin Fiala of Team Switzerland. He's done for the rest of the NHL season because he tore up his knee at the Olympics. So it's really a very touchy subject with the World Cup because you have the same thing. And then you have all these guys in the MLS who are currently playing versus the guys overseas. They'll have time to rest and recover and get to shape. But what about Team USA? All these guys in the MLS. What does that mean for them? Are they going to rest? Are they going to go for it because they need to claim their spot, perhaps? If I'm a bubble player specifically, you have to go for it. If you don't know about your roster status, you absolutely have to show out and give it all you got because you want to prove that you're part of the roster. But if you're someone that your spot's pretty firm, maybe it could be not excusable, but understandable as to why maybe you might have a lesser workload in at least the MLS here that's currently going on.
It's interesting because I was talking with a friend about this actually, because Charlotte FC will play Inter Miami in a couple weeks, and we were kind of happy that that is the situation, so that we actually get another game of Messi here in Charlotte. Because if, as he gets closer to the World Cup, he may stop playing some of those games, or maybe only playing 20 minutes, 30 minutes in the last second half of the game. So all of these plays a big role in the way teams are gonna perform, because you also want to take care of your player. Every team wants a player at the World Cup. He raises the team status, he raises the value of the player that they can then use to their advantage for trade and transfer purposes.
I think the players in MLS who are going to the World Cup, it's tough because it's mid-season. So I think when we're talking about names like Messi that have been playing so long, they know their body. In Messi's case specifically, I think he loves to play and he's fit playing. So I think as long as he can play, he's going to play. How much he's going to push himself in certain games, then that might vary. But I don't see a situation where he's not like playing. If he's fit, I think he'll be playing because he feels good, and I think that's just the way he is. When it comes to Europe, it's really interesting because a lot of these players are playing three competitions, right? They're playing Champions League, they're playing League, then they're playing their local cup, and there's still a lot of games left in the season. And we're talking about how are these players gonna take the season with World Cup? I think it doesn't really change the way they approach it because they have no time to say, "Oh, let me not play, let me not push," because you want to make the World Cup. The tough part is players like Mbappe or, like I said, Frankie De Jong. They're coming back from injuries, and it might be in the back of their head, especially if season goes on. Maybe Madrid has no chance of winning a trophy, which it could. Then he might just focus on saying, "Hey, I want to make the World Cup. I want to be at 100% when the World Cup starts."
So players like Ronaldo who are leaving to their safety for their family's sake, and not just him. I'm sure there's other players that are doing the same who have the ability to do so. How does it affect them to prepare for the tournament?
Again, we're 98 days, so there's still plenty of time. That's over 3 months. But hopefully that gets resolved, not because of the soccer situation, more because of the people and
the pots.
all that stuff. I think that's more important than Cristiano getting
Yeah,
games.
of course.
But also Iran, they were qualified for the World Cup. There's a big question of if they're going to come. I think not. What's going to happen with that? Is there going to be another team who's going to be introduced? I don't know.
The Dutch were also talking about this actually a couple months ago, of just not participating due to the president's decisions and well, his political moves. So is that something that with these problems going on, is that something that could also affect other teams such as the Dutch team to convince them to stay at home and not compete?
It's tough because you're asking a lot of questions where the only answer is to speculate. And that makes things really sticky and really tough, especially because there's a lot of information that's out there, but there's also a lot of information that's not out there.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, we don't want to guess, we don't do any guesswork or anything else of the sort. But what we do know based on history is, let me double check I need to double check a time actually.
354.
Not that. But what we do know is that other entities have taken action against certain countries in certain situations. You look at the reason why Russia now has different delegations and assignments for the Olympics and major tournaments. There's a reason for that. The IOC made their necessary steps. I don't know if FIFA or any other international sporting body would do the same, but there is history of it happening. And with this situation, it's a lot up in the air, especially with how it shakes out. Some of it involves some of the host nations having each of their own individual problems all at the same time. And we do have to see, but like we mentioned before, the safety of the people is number one. And if there are teams who are willing to opt out for those reasons, it's not something that hasn't happened before. They'll just have to find a way around it. And of course, everything is going to be the way it is for a reason.
So how do we close this down? And to a lot of things that we can speculate on, but like John said, hopefully all of this gets resolved for the people that are actually enduring some of the consequences of everything going on. But to end this on a positive note and a little bit of a trivia, MLS, we got some games coming up that are exciting. We got Charlotte FC versus Austin. We got DC United versus Inter Miami. Y'all want to play some guessing games?
I'll say Charlotte will win and Inter Miami. They were electric the other day.
Columbus, Chicago.
Columbus,
LAFC, Dallas.
LAFC,
Nashville, Minnesota.
Nashville.
Ryan, DC United or Inter Miami?
If they play the second half, Inter Miami. If they play the first half against Orlando,
No,
then
that's not fair. That's not
DC
fair.
United. Which version?
You gotta
Which
pick
version
one.
Inter Miami we're gonna get? But I think they'll keep the momentum. Inter Miami.
If Miami score more goals than DC, then I pick Inter Miami, right? That's what you're trying to say?
Of course, absolutely. You win all the marbles if Inter Miami score more goals than DC.
Charlotte FC, Austin.
Charlotte, I believe this is their first game at home. Let's give them the home field advantage.
And then Columbus, Chicago.
I've done it once. I've done it again. This game will draw.
LAFC, Dallas.
LAFC is on a steamer. I can't see anyone stopping them right now.
Nashville, Minnesota.
Nashville's fun. Nashville's a lot of fun, and I want to keep that. I want to see Broadway buzzing.
And then I think Inter Miami's gonna take this. Chicago, Charlotte's gonna take this. Columbus, AFC, Nashville. A lot of winners on the left side. A lot of winners at home. I foresee a lot of winners at home. Any final thoughts, Guy?
Nothing. Hopefully, more cool news coming for you, and we'll see you guys next week.
Ryan, any final words on your behalf?
This Saturday is opening weekend for the USL and USL League One. Check out all the action on ESPN Plus. AV Alta and the Richmond Kickers. John's league, John's future opponents, AV Alta FC and Richmond Kickers for opening week of USL League One. And then I go from West Coast to East, Atlanta United, Carolina Core on One Football, MLSnextPro.com.
Brother,
One weekend of soccer, 2 games back to back. Let's have some fun with it, boys.
ESPN and One Football is gonna have to start sponsoring us for that. But yes,
Well,
guys.
you know what? If I keep saying their name enough,
Maybe you never know. Guys, this was another episode, and catch us on the next one.